there, and welcome to this Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup 2021 preview. I'm your host, Super Saiyan Blue Lucario, so grab a cup of tea and join me as we dive right in and take a look at the competing nations in this truly remarkable competition. Wheelchair Rugby League has been really coming to the forefront in recent years, taking on a whole new lease of life, and is getting more eyes on the game as part of the most inclusive Rugby League World Cup year ever, with both the men's, the women's, and the wheelchair competitions all competing at the same time. We also added in, quite late on, the Physical Disability Rugby League World Cup with 4 teams, which has just finished. We haven't had a chance to go over that in a preview or anything, but I encourage you to check out the videos if you haven't already. Wheelchair Rugby League is a whole other animal to the able-bodied game. If you're watching it for the first time, it can be even more brutal than the able-bodied game, because these guys have no fear. They are launching chair first, and it does look absolutely monstrous. There are still huge hits, just as they would in the men's game or the women's game, and a whole different skill set required because of the different rules to the game, where you're having to pull the tags rather than just hitting the players. And there are also some very, very high scores in these games. So expect a lot of action. Think like basketball games. You have very high scores in those. Wheelchair Rugby League can end up with similar type score lines. So be on course for a very exciting World Cup here. It's going to be my first time watching it properly. I've seen a few games in the past, but I'm really excited for this World Cup and what is to come. Firstly, Group A, the hosts, England. England did win the inaugural Wheelchair World Cup in 2008 and are currently ranked second in the world. The Wheelchair Super League has brought a wider audience than ever before to the game, and the standard and skill on show is something extraordinary. Several grand final representatives of Leeds and the champions Halifax make up a very diverse squad who will be hungry to get payback for the heartbreaking 38-34 loss in the 2017 final. James Simpson will be one to watch, and England will certainly fancy their chances of going all the way after a win over number 1 ranked side France earlier this year. Next, Australia. They were the finalists in the first tournament, but have flattered to deceive since then in this format of the game. They will also be hurt with a lack of international game time in recent years, which sees a relatively new squad with many unknowns taking to the field. Their opening game with England will be a good indicator of what their chances will be like, and never write off the Wheelaroos, but I feel like they might fall short again just due to the lack of cohesion, the lack of game time at an international level over recent seasons. I think they might come in a bit underdone here, and it's a chance to see other nations on show. Next up is Ireland. They last completed in the 2013 World Cup with a 5th place finish and have slowly been improving over the years. It's a very difficult ask for them to get out of the group, but they'll be encouraged by recent results. They pushed Wales all the way, and 2 victories over Scotland this year. They could be a dark horse to potentially upset some in this one, and maybe have a hand in who qualifies out of it, certainly position-wise. Finally, we have Spain. They were a surprise package in their last appearance at a World Cup. They overcame Australia, and they made it through the group before falling flat in the knockout stages. A poor defeat in the semi-finals, and then ranking matches after that, and they just haven't kicked on really since then. And they'll find it more difficult to qualify against the more experienced sides. If they can channel the form from their last World Cup appearance in the early days, they could be a surprise package, but they'll have to start strong in their opening must-win clash with Ireland. So these teams are the 4 that make up the group. So let's have a look at the actual matches, and we'll have a go at predicting it. As you'll be able to see, there are some big scores here because that's how wheelchair rugby goes. Like, there are often big scores in these games, and it's very hard to predict. So, being a relative newcomer and only really watching a few of the games, I'm going to have a go at this. We could be way off, or we could actually be channeling our luck from the men's prediction games here. So, the opening game between England and Australia. I think England are going to be far too strong here. The Australians are, again, a lot of new players getting to know each other, whereas England are more fluid, more cohesive together. They know their own players pretty well. And with consistent international game time as well earlier this year and in previous years as well, they'll be able to take that experience, and I think we'll have too much for Australia in this one. So we're going 58-28 there. I do think Australia will challenge. I think they'll have moments in the game where they'll get a few back-to-back scores, but I think England just have a little too much class at the moment. The other game to start up, I have Ireland to beat Spain 44-30. I'm expecting high-scoring game with not a lot really going on in defense there. But I think Ireland will have just enough to come out on top in this one, having more consistent game time, more internationals under their belt. They have really come on in recent years, and I think they will have enough to take a win here. In game two, we have England against Spain. I think England are again they will kick on from their earlier win over Australia. I think they'll be able to be just too much and too ranged in their attacking style for Spain to deal with. Again, I think Spain have the surprise moments where they will find a way through the England line to score, but I don't think they have too much to be able to trouble the English defence. I think they'll not be able to throw enough at them to break through and overturn this English juggernaut. The other game in round two, I think, could be one of the games of the group. Ireland against Australia. And I'm backing Ireland to push the Aussies all the way here. I don't quite think they'll have enough to overturn them. I think Australia have more rugby league smarts about them in their squad, a bit more experience overall. But Ireland getting that game time, getting that cohesion bill, I think that they might throw a few wrenches at them, and it could be a very close fought battle, this one. I do think Australia will just about pip it, though. So we're going 42-34 to Australia there. In the final game of the group stage, we have England and Ireland. I think it should be a fun game, back and forth game. Again, England's experience and skill factor of the Super League players will be enough to carry them through this. But I think that again, Ireland they'll still have a chance to qualify at this point, and they'll be throwing the ball all over the place. They will be I reckon they'll play very off the cuff here, and we could see a good high scoring game from both sides here. The final game of round three, Spain against Australia. Again, I think Spain will push the Aussies. I think they'll cause them a few problems, but the Aussies will just about have enough to overturn the Spaniards, who will go down in a very valiant effort. I'm expecting about 48-30 here to the Aussies, but it remains to be seen. Wheelchair rugby is very difficult to predict, so these scores could be completely out or completely accurate. Like, you just never know with these ones. I'm very excited to watch some of these games during the weeks. Now to Group B. First of all, France. They are the back-to-back two-time winners of this competition, and they'll be hungry to complete a hat-trick of world titles and extend their dominance in the game. But the previous World Cup finals were narrow victories for the French, and they suffered a narrow defeat to England earlier this year. They'll be keen to put that right in the World Cup format when more is on the line. They should be too strong for the other sides in their group, far too classy with a ball in hand. Their offloading game from the games that I've seen is just very, very good. And I think a lot depends on what their semi-final opponents are as to whether France will successfully retain or not. The second team in the group is Wales, who've really grown in this sport in recent years since their debut in the 2013 format. Strong results include a thrashing of group opponents. Scotland have them in a very bullish mood for the tournament, and they're definitely a side capable of upsetting the big sides and likely the only real obstacle to France winning this group. Very excited to watch their clash, as it will certainly be one for the ages, I reckon, and will absolutely determine who finishes top in this group. Up next, we have Scotland. They haven't had the best run of results in the build-up to this tournament, and confidence will be running very low. Heavy defeats in recent matches to Ireland and Wales leave me doubtful of their chances to progress, but they'll certainly target the US game as a winnable one and aim to compete better against Wales than their 116-6 drubbing earlier this year. They certainly can't go backwards from that, so hopefully they'll put a little bit more pride, much like the men's team finally did in their last group game in the World Cup against Fiji. I'm hoping for a bit of pride on show from the Scots and hope they really show up to be counted in this World Cup. Finally, we have the USA. Now, this is the first time they've made the World Cup and as current are unranked in the world, which will all change come the start of the tournament. It's going to be a very steep learning curve for the US as they're going to face the reigning champions in France and a very bullish Wales side who could be ruthless and give them a very long day at the office. However, much like Scotland targeting that particular game, they themselves will target the Scotland game as a winnable one, which would be a major confidence boost for them going forward. But it's likely to be their only real chance of getting anything out of the tournament at all. I don't see them challenging France or Wales whatsoever. And much like Greece and Jamaica, it's a learning curve. They're learning the game, they're developing the game, and we all have to start somewhere. And it'll be interesting to see how they do, but I don't see them doing too much in this tournament itself. So let's look at the actual matches for Group B. First of all, France against Wales. I do think this is going to be the game of the group. It'll be fast end-to-end action, and I'm going off the back of France and their performance in World Cups. I think they'll just about have the edge here, but Wales will be sticking with them all the way to the end. I think that'll be a very interesting game. I'm going 38-30, very tight contest, but France just having the edge over them. Scotland USA is also going to be a close game. And I think with Scotland having absolutely no confidence at the moment, the US might actually pull off an upset here. And I'm going for them to win 28-24. I think I'm going to go for a narrow margin. But I think the US might have enough in the tank to overturn a team completely devoid of confidence. And I think that's going to be the key factor in this game at all. Because the USA have nothing to lose. And that carefree nature will certainly add a key ingredient to their approach to the games and be interesting to see. In round two, France playing Scotland. I have a very big win for France here. Again, Scotland out of confidence, and France will be looking to lay a marker down. I think they'll be too classy, too quick, and efficient and skillful with the ball, and it'll end up a very big scoreline here. I'm expecting around about 90 points of France in this one. Unfortunately, I don't see Scotland having anything to trouble them. And the same to be said in the Wales-USA game. Wales will be looking to bounce back from their defeat to France and will be looking to overturn a USA side who will be pretty high in confidence after turning over Scotland. Again, with the carefree, nothing to lose nature, but all of a sudden, they'll see that finish line. They will see the chance to progress. And I think they'll end up like a deer in headlights at this point. I think Wales will be very strong. They'll come out of the traps flying and will absolutely destroy them. I think it'll be another big score. I'm expecting 88-0 here. I don't see Wales allowing the US any chances to score whatsoever in this one. In round three, I'm expecting an even bigger defeat for the US here. I think this will be the first triple figure score in the World Cup. I'm expecting 112-0 to France, who they're the reigning world champions for a reason. And they will be looking to top the group to get the strongest possible position going into the semi-finals. The USA will be reeling from a heavy defeat to Wales, and I don't think they'll have anything for the French to deal with whatsoever again. I think their grand final was effectively the Scotland game, and from there, it's just a very harsh lesson. The final game, Wales and Scotland. I think Scotland will give Wales a better game than they did earlier this year. It will still be a comfortable win for Wales, but I expect the Scots to be battling valiantly for pride here and will post a few points on the board. I think they'll definitely have a couple of opportunities to get something out of this, but Wales will be too much over the period of the game on this one. So we're going for Wales to win that one, 64-22. So after that, we have the semi-finals, and if predictions go as I have suggested, I have England to face Wales in what is going to be a great match. The two sides have served up some really challenging and close encounters over recent internationals, and I'm expecting this to be no different. I think England will just about have the edge. Home advantage might carry them over here as they look to get back to the final again for the fourth consecutive World Cup. Wales will give as good as they've got, though, and the confidence that they have coming into this tournament will certainly lend itself to a very difficult game for England, but I think they'll have too much. While France and Australia, I think France will comfortably dispatch the Wheelaroos. A similar kind of scoreline to how Wales are expected to beat Scotland. I'm going 58-22 here. I think France have just that little too much for the Aussies, who will come undone by their lack of game time. They will have a bit more cohesion by this point of the tournament, but the French, they'll be having one eye on that final, and I think they will go all out to make sure that they lay an important statement down against their future final opponents. So I'm expecting a solid win for France here, which means the final itself, England and France. And I've gone for a reverse of the 2017 score. I don't see very much separating the two sides at all, and there was only 2 points in it in the international early this season. I'm expecting a brilliant game. It could possibly even go to extra time, this one. But I think England on home soil might have enough in the tank to just snatch it at the death, much like the international earlier this year. So I'm predicting England to win this Wheelchair World Cup with the narrowest of margins. Those are my predictions. This is my preview video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below who you are backing to win the Wheelchair World Cup. But until next time, it's time for me to have a cup of tea.